Frankenstein's Aunt by Rune Pettersson, the leader. The bulldog collapsed onto the sawdust at its master's feet and put its drooping cheeks on its paws. It had been a most frightful afternoon, filled with endless trudging up hills, the sense of sweat and frightened people, and it had seen and heard a whole lot of peculiar things it couldn't be bothered to think about now. It was snoring heavily before the conversation around the bar counter even started. "We've seen enough," said the guard, fanning his red face with his Tyrolean hat. God, my dear, a beer before I die." "You have seen the monster?" said the blacksmith, now finished with the drayman's horses. "I'll say we've seen him," said the guard, winking at Irmgard as she drew their beer, her blonde plaits dangling. He meant they had a horrible experience in common, but she misunderstood him and flushed deeply. "What did he look like?" said the butcher, now finished with his sausages. "Just awful as usual," said the guard, putting his tankard into his mouth. "Worse than usual," he added, as he dipped his mustache into the beer. The crush in the inn was enormous. Every single villager seemed to have come to hear what the three heroes had to say. The guard had now taken on the part of leader to them all, and it could be seen that he had taken the responsibility for the whole future of the village onto his shoulders. Since he had sloping shoulders, he seemed to be afraid of the responsibility Since he had sloping shoulders, he seemed to be afraid the responsibility might slip off them at any moment. "If I may state my opinion," said the innkeeper, leaning against the counter, rosy-faced and sweaty, "then I didn't think he looked at all dangerous, not as I had expected." At once he received an angry look from the guard. "What do you mean? Are you making light of the deadly danger threatening us all?" "He was only going around in a straw hat picking harebells," said the innkeeper. A surprised hum ran round the inn, but the guard immediately demanded silence. "I am not deceived," he said. "You must see that's a trick. You must see that the old girl's trying to lull us into security." "Yes, Fritz is right," said the station master. "I think it's a trick too." "Was he really wearing a straw hat?" said old man Meyer. "Yes," said the innkeeper. "He looked as peaceful as any gardener." "Some gardener," said the guard loudly, so that he could be heard by everyone. "A gardener just waiting to harvest a few flowers of death." He thought he had found a really descriptive image and saw with pride that it had gone home. His words were received with dark and frightened looks. He was moved as he sensed the effect his words had on the villagers, and he realized that he would now have to do everything to keep his position of leadership. He asked Irmgard for another tankard of beer and said loudly, "Tomorrow evening," and then paused for effect. "Tomorrow evening, we will form a posse with dogs and torches." The bulldog raised one ear in its sleep, thinking someone had mentioned it. And that's the end of that chapter.